Thank you. Thank you. Well, first off, thanks are in order. I mean, the organizers, I don't want to name them all, but Chris right here beside me, this man was the one who took it initially, and wow, what a job he's done. It's yeah, thank you. But it's not just Chris, Barry, and so many other people, those that run this this venue. Really, everybody who's been involved, I want to thank you all. And those who've supported the mission, the World Citizen Mission along the way. If some of you are in the audience, thank you so very much. Bit behind schedule on that. I'll give you reasons why, but sorry. And honestly, what a blessing. You know, one of the reasons for my optimism is that when people get a taste of what it is to actually do what you're meant to do, what your calling is in life. Most people have no idea what that is. I mean, you know, most people are struggling to try and figure out what it is that is their purpose. Is that scratching from, is it scratching? We'll work out that audio at some point. But I honestly feel like as blessed a man as ever has walked this earth. I really do. And despite the potential risks and whatnot of being free and expressing yourself as you are, one day of being free, of being a man, and saying and doing what you believe and not bowing before any master is a feeling that I can't wait for everyone to get a taste of it, because when you get a taste of it, you're going to want more. And all we know in this current state of affairs is a bunch of fucking tyranny. It's all just bullshit, everything. It's just one big illusion. And we're supposed to buy into it. And as we start to break away from this programming and see the world for what it is, and understand just how unacceptable this state of affairs is, especially when we project forward and see the world that our children are going to be inheriting, there is definitely a responsibility. It imparts a real responsibility on us. And I really understand why people don't take on that responsibility. I am not looking down on people because they don't do this. In fact, I'm one of those people. I was just as stupid as anybody on this planet. I joined the Marine Corps, for Christ's sake. What is the Marine Corps? It's a bunch of fucking, you know, enforcers for a mafia gang that runs around serving corporate interests around the world. We slaughter dark-skinned people in mass, and we get away with it because we've got the favor of an empire which wants us to go carry out this shit. I mean, how fucking stupid is that? So I'm in no position to look down on anybody, and I really don't. I see these people outside. You know, if I had been raised on the type of diet of bullshit that they are raised with, I can imagine what kind of person I would have been. I would have been every bit as bad as any of these people, and every bit as dogmatic and violent and so on and so forth. Really, I understand and really desire deeply for people to understand the prison that has been created through our brains, through our minds. We have created a prison based on a bunch of illusions, and most people at this point have not been able to break free from that. They're stuck. The prison is in here, and they can't get out of it. And they're afraid to face it. But more and more, despite the odds, despite all of the punishing reasons not to face the truth, more and more people are doing this. If nothing else, I am an astute observer of human consciousness, have been for really a couple of decades now. And I can tell you, I mean, for those of you who've been aware that long or longer, it's been painful, especially 9/11. Oh, my fucking God. People are buying this shit? What the hell is going on? How can you fucking believe this? Is it not so completely transparent? And anybody who could think for themselves, this doesn't require that you're some sort of genius. Not at all. Not at all. Part of my optimism again. This is not about, I'm so fucking smart. Why don't you dumbasses? It's not like that. It's not like that. It does not take an extreme amount of research or some genius IQ. Bullshit. A functioning brain, basic critical thinking is all you need. That's all you need. And people who fit into the category of the sleeping, the sheeple, or whatever we want to call them, I'm telling you, I keep finding myself saying this over and over because a lot of people along the way are saying, yeah, but I try and tell my family and my friends, and none of them want to know, and nobody cares, and they're just, you know, watching football. And listen, we all know that's true, that too many people, sadly, are not engaging. But I'm telling you this, please, really listen to what I'm saying here and understand just how powerful this is if I'm correct. Under the surface, subconsciously, these people, all of the dumbest of the dumb, the sheeple that you are so aggravated with, under the surface, subconsciously, the truth is starting to anchor itself in there. It's down, it's in that subconscious, believe me. But people know, both intuitively and intellectually, fuck, man, life is hard enough as it is, man. I'm just getting by. I'm going into debt. I could lose my job next month. My family is not going to be able to be taken care of. You know, shit's fucking serious. And you know what? When I'm off, I just want to fucking just really zone out and just get into something that I enjoy. I don't want to think and deal with more stuff, take on more responsibility. There's real reasons why people are not choosing this path of awareness and consciousness. There's real good reasons why. And to be honest, I have nothing but love and respect for the working class people who are putting food on the table, even if they're doing bullshit jobs in the military, even, you know, the arms industry and whatnot. You know, of course I'd like all that shit shut down. But there are real reasons why people are there, and we should be compassionate towards each other and understand each other as best we can. And we shouldn't be so arrogant because we came into consciousness to expect everybody else in unison to become aware in concert with us. That's fucking arrogant. So really, God love all the people, you know, the universal life force, whatever it is that you believe in. God love them all, honestly. They will come around. Believe me, in the subconscious, it's waiting. There's an activator. Something's going to activate it, and it could happen any day. Any day it could happen. A chain reaction could occur very quickly. How many people are aware of the work of Rupert Sheldrake? Yep. Right, right. So amazing. Morphic resonance, the 100th monkey, the tipping point, critical mass. You know, for those, if you've heard those terms, look into it more deeply. Look at Rupert Sheldrake. This is amazing. This is incredibly amazing what he talks about. Morphic resonance, incredibly powerful. Not good for the powers that be, by the way, at all. They do not want you to know this. But there is scientific proof of a phenomena which we've largely labeled, you know, the 100th monkey, tipping point, critical mass. But there is physical scientific proof of this phenomenon which cannot be fully explained. And ultimately, if it's true, it spells doom for the powers that be in their system. Because what it translates to is that when a species reaches a certain understanding within a species, it only has to reach a very small amount within that species, and then it permeates to geographically isolated populations of that species that have no contact, no internet, no phone, no nothing, right? And they still somehow understand this basic principle. The 100th monkey is monkeys that were washing potatoes in salt water, and that spread to a geographically isolated area that was proven to be, how could they possibly know that? There's no monkeys, you know, taking boats over to that island, you know, there's no cross-mingling, no nothing. But it's been proven, this phenomena has been proven on many different levels. What that means is that we should stop focusing on the masses. Stop worrying about the masses. That's not what matters. What matters is that conscious minority, us, those of us who care, who are engaging, who are learning more, who are taking responsibility. We are the ones that matter. And it is no coincidence at all that you see these bastards who are running the fucking world trying to run us directly into a third world war. Why? They need a fucking third world war badly. Because the minority of us, the conscious human beings who are becoming more aware, we are going to infect the rest of humanity with a new reality, one not based on a bunch of fucking bullshit lies where nothing but prostitutes are put up in public positions of trust, and they defy that trust left, right, and center. The whole fucking system is run by a tyrannical fucking top-level group of fucking psychopaths who have an infinite supply of money. This is the world we live in, literally. Literally, there is a tiny group of individuals who have an infinite supply of money through the control of the central banking bullshit fucking fraud system, which is an act of treason that any government who participated and perpetuated act of fucking treason. So in the United States, 1913, the whole fucking lot of them, except for those who voted against the Federal Reserve Act, are traitors. Every last one of them. And all of the sages, all of the wise and patriotic, genuine souls within our nations have talked about this battle between the bankers and the interests of the nation, because they are diametrically opposed. Diametrically opposed. And we live in a world which is run by this tiny clique of bankers who happen to mostly identify as Jewish, which gets into the reasons why they don't like to hear certain words. And I will get back into that. But let us understand that this world is very easy to understand. It does not take a genius. When we talk about who runs the world, you know, this to me, as I say more and more, it fits into the fascinating category. Very fascinating. You know, who it is, the Illuminati, the reptilians, the Jesuits, you know, the archons. I mean, we can go on and on and on and on. But even if one of these groups is running it, what is the vehicle to actually install this system and maintain this system of power? What is the vehicle? It's money. It's the financial system. You take that system away, what the fuck are they going to do then? They use that system to buy everything and everyone that can be bought. So people of honor and integrity who don't have any real interest in material wealth, those people, they don't get rewarded as they should be in a healthy society. People with honor and integrity who have selfless qualities, who genuinely wish to serve, those people are punished in this world, oftentimes tortured and killed. Because the powers that be at the top know damn well you don't want those fucking people around. They will infect others. And actually, if you go back in history, think about this. Why do you suppose we even have any freedom today? Do you think back in the day, medieval times, going back 1,000 years, 2,000 years ago, when we had kings and queens and emperors and, you know, all of this sort of stuff, do you think that these tyrants who have, you know, been in place throughout our human history, the one that we're told anyway, do you think that they gave up freedom, they gave up their power of their own free will to give us the freedom that we have today? Do you think that these tyrants sitting at the top of the pyramid wish to offer you any freedom out of the goodness of their hearts? Hell no. The reason why we have any freedom today is because people, real men, real women, people, children as well. Victoria Grant, I wish she was here tonight. My God, what a beautiful young lady you produced here in Canada, Victoria Grant. We have people throughout the ages who have stood up against all odds, knowing it was certain death, knowing that even worse than that they were going to be tortured before they were killed in public, and even their family members would be killed. That type of thing has occurred countless times, and people have stood up. And the reason why? Because a real man and a real woman has to be free and will not bow before any servant. The streak of freedom within us is so strong that people refuse. They refuse. The Irish are a perfect example of this. Hundreds of years of just nasty, virulent, supremacist, racist ideology enforced upon them in the most hideous of ways. Hundreds of years, but no fucking way could you stop them. The Irish will never fucking bow. They will fight against any fucking army, and they will die. Probably drunk, but they'll probably still kick your ass. But it's not just the Irish. The Palestinians, you cannot help but be inspired by the Palestinians. Holy fucking shit. Have they been facing a monstrosity, completely abandoned, not just by the world, but their own Arab and Muslim brothers and sisters in the region. Totally abandoned. On almost every meaningful level, abandoned. And they have been facing this monster for decades. And part of the reason why, if not the reason why, is because we can't talk about certain things. This is why I say what I say, out of love and respect for my Palestinian brothers and sisters who, if they get up and say what I'm saying, fuck, they would have been dead long ago or in some goddamn dungeon somewhere. You know, really, that's the reality. But a white guy can fucking get up and say this shit, at least for so long. That's the reality. It is the reality. Make no mistake about it. This is the world we're living in, a perverse, twisted, fucked up reality, which means a white guy from California who was an ex-Marine can get up and say all sorts of things. But if somebody from, let's say, Palestine gets up as a Muslim and says the things I'm saying, he's done. 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 Absolutely over. So this is one of the burdens of white man's burden and whatnot. There's a lot of nuance to these types of arguments, and I'm not in agreement with the whole argument at all. In fact, there's a lot of problems with it. But the fact is, those of us who come from more prosperous nations with white skin and oftentimes male, we have an extra sort of responsibility, in my opinion, because we have been the major beneficiaries, not to a total extent, and a lot of that is changing, by the way, but nonetheless, we have been the majority beneficiaries of this twisted system. In America and Canada and England, perfect example, we have a prosperous existence. Why? Are we more industrious than the rest of the world? Are we more intelligent than the rest of the world? No. We just have a fucked up, fraudulent system which imparts greater value to our currency than the rest of the world. It's just that simple. And we have derived great benefits in terms of our comfort levels as a result of this very fucked up system. And at some point, we're going to have to really come clean and acknowledge, yes, we have collectively been fucking beneficiaries of this nasty system. The sooner that we become honest about this, the more we will be able to genuinely connect with our brothers and sisters in other parts of the world who have been the ones who have been really punished directly as a result of this system. This is the reality. And until we take responsibility for what we have been complicit with, we will not be able to change this state of affairs. I believe that we've reached now in 2016 that seminal time. I believe that this generation, that us, right here, right now, are literally going to decide the fate of planet Earth. We have two opposing forces, which I always believed would come to a head. I never thought there was a way to avoid this. I'd love to, if there is a way, to avoid the worst aspects of this, but we have two opposing forces. We've got these tyrants, these psychopaths who run the financial system and with that run the world. Hardly any meaningful government agency, organization of any stature, anything that has any kind of relevance and influence in human society, almost all of it is owned by them, literally. So you have this force, which clearly has only its own perceived self-interest. It's not even in their interest. That's how fucking twisted they are. There is no real interest in this trying to play God shit. But nonetheless, that's what they perceive to be their interest. And then you have human beings, real, genuine human beings who, I've traveled this world. I have seen from place to place to place the same thing. We all basically want the same thing. I don't care whether you call yourself a Muslim or a Christian or an atheist or whatever. I don't care if you come from Gaza or you come from Los Angeles or you come from Toronto. We all basically want the same thing. And another thing that we all have in common, we don't really want war. Yet we have fucking war all the time. All the time. There's always another war. Why? Because the bankers run the world and war is the best thing for them. Not only does it provide more profits for them, but more importantly, much more importantly, it divides people. What can divide people more than killing each other, of torturing each other, of abusing each other? I mean, has anybody actually experienced war, like real war in this room? Any veterans, right? Okay. Well, you know, if you've experienced it, you know. This is not the kind of thing that you would ever want to be involved in unless it's purely self-defense. Purely self-defense. You should never involve yourselves in war except for self-defense. And ironically, you know, one of the nations that's a perfect example of that, which a pillar of that, the nation we hear so much about in its mythical nuclear weapons program, Iran. You know, the true history of Iran is they haven't had a war for literally 600 years, bar one, which we started with our attack dog, Saddam Hussein. And yet they're the fucking problem, are they? Right. In this incredibly Orwellian, upside-down world of ours, yeah, Iran is the threat. Not us, not Israel, not Saudi Arabia, not Britain, not these fucking Nazi fucking-like countries which actually defy every fucking human value that exists. And I feel like I'm actually insulting Nazis by saying that, to be honest, because the characteristics of these people are worse than anything we saw in World War II. So we have these two opposing forces, and this is why we see. Look at look at what we're doing in terms of foreign policy. I mean, obviously Canada is nothing but a stooge in this game, but you know, look at America's. I mean, you know that it's just a stooge, which is bullshit, man, unacceptable. But look at what we're doing. I mean, look at these policies. I get so sick and tired of hearing these experts that get up, not only in the mainstream media, But even on like Press TV and Russia Today sometimes, and you get these experts who are talking about, you know, they say things like, you know, it just seems really incredible that America doesn't learn its lesson, you know. Why doesn't it learn from the past and all this sort of this nonsense? Like, why do you think these people are so stupid that they are carrying out these policies and like, damn, I don't know why it isn't working, you know? It's so ridiculous. It's like the Israelis, you know, oh, the Israelis don't have a partner in peace and all this bullshit. Look at the policies of Israel. Are you expecting peace with those types of policies? Of course not. Is the intention to have peace? Hell no. Actual real peace in Palestine, in Israel, will be the end of Israel, will be the end of the Jewish state, because eventually peace will result in one person, one vote, and there will be a majority of Arabs in that region again, especially when the right of return is respected. And what does that mean for a Jewish supremacist state? It's the fucking end of it. So of course they don't want peace, and the policies reflect that. It's perfectly sensible. The policies that are being carried out in the Middle East right now, how many of you have heard of or read Oded Yanan's Strategy for Israel in the 1980s? Yeah. Sorry? Yeah, 1982. It lays out what we're seeing right now, basically. It lays it out. The policy, the long-term agenda of Israel is ultimately to expand. Israel is meant to be the next empire. America's falling. That's what's supposed to be its replacement. And this psychopathic plan involves the expansion into Lebanon, Syria, Iraq, into Jordan, Saudi Arabia, and down into Egypt, from the River Nile in the south to the River Euphrates up in the north, and that's supposed to be Israel, greater Israel. But how do you achieve that? Do you put on a marketing campaign and say, well, Israel's so great, you know, and it's the only democracy in the Middle East, so I think we should expand it, you know, and just kind of take over the territory of other nations alongside us, because isn't that great, and wouldn't it make the world a better place? Of course they couldn't fucking do that. Nobody would believe it. So they have to use other means. And the means is what we see playing out in the Middle East right now. What we do in the West is we pay, either directly or through our proxies, Saudi Arabia, Qatar, and all these other puppet states in the Gulf, with their dirty blood fucking petro money bullshit. They flood that money into the hands of a bunch of psychopaths who work for us. They work for us. We train these fucking psychopaths. We fucking protect them. We provide them sanctuary in Turkey and Jordan. We provide them the weapons. Look at them running around with our weapons all over the place. They're getting the money, they're getting the weapons, they're getting the training, they're getting the coverage, and they're getting the protection of the mainstream media, who is presenting them as a real enemy that we're actually fighting, when in fact, they're our own creation, and they're there to justify our aggressive policies in the region. It's all so ridiculously transparent, but the thing that makes it so blood-curdlingly unacceptable is that we fucking pay for that. Our fucking treasonous governments are paying for that shit. We are responsible for that. And I'll tell you what, do you need to go to Palestine or Iraq? I've been to both places. I have seen things and experienced people's stories that most could never even fathom. I could give an entire lecture just about the Samuni family and what they went through. But that's just one family. And that was Operation Cast Lead, 2008, 2009. In 2014, they wiped out, I believe, 89 or 92 families. Gone. Gone. Because a lot of these families live in one building. And they took out the whole fucking building, and there goes a whole family. Imagine 89 families being wiped out. You know, this is us. American taxpayers pay for that shit, and more than likely the bomb used to level those buildings is American-made. We fucking gift that shit to Israel. Canada's just a stooge state, which is going along with the same program. We're fucking paying for that shit. And we're complicit with it. And, you know, we have, as of now, we have not yet manifested something to get ourselves out of this bullshit. We have not found a way. Now, when I have 15 minutes left, I'm going to get into what I believe is the way. But this is the world we're living with, and the powers that be are shitting themselves because they know this morphic resonance 100th monkey. They know that that minority is becoming more aware, and they know, inevitably, it spells their doom. So what you see is policies ramping up a third world war. In fact, there's a lot of strong arguments to say that we would have already had a full-scale third world war, but seemingly acts of God or something, some divine intervention, perhaps otherworldly beings are involved, I don't know. But I don't like the idea of relying on any external thing at all. It's a very dangerous game to play. I believe it is absolutely necessary that we take responsibility and we correct this. Even if there were other worldly beings who basically neutralized all nukes if they were launched and whatnot, we'd just still be a bunch of spoilt brats who don't even deserve our freedom. And that's really what you have in a nutshell with my birth nation as far as I'm concerned. A bunch of spoilt brats who were handed something that, while it was flawed, while there's a lot of issues in terms of the real history of the United States, we did actually have something that was quite beautiful in the U.S. Constitution. It's flawed, there's problems, I'm not saying it's perfect, but it's a far sight fucking better than what we have now with this legalese bullshit. These fucking contracts that we are unwittingly submitting ourselves to that are effectively stripping us of all of our rights and taking us down a completely self-destructive path, which inevitably, where are we going with this in the nuclear age? You know, World War I believe, was about 16 million people killed, no nukes. World War II, 60, 70 million dead, only one nuclear power, 2 nuclear atomic bombs, and, 67 million. Back then, you know what people knew back then? We cannot fucking do this a third time. We cannot do this a third time. And so what happened? They created the fucking United Nations, didn't they? And the United Nations, one of the first acts of the United Nations was pretty much the theft of Palestine, gifting Israel 15% or less of the population with the majority of the land. Oh, that's a nice first act. That's really good. So the Palestinians are going to pay the price for an apparently Northern European German crime, if we're to believe the official version, which I don't. I don't believe the official version of any history, and I don't know why anyone would believe the official version of any history. But when we get into what happened in World War II and just how stark and horrible it was, and the memory that people had, the experiences people had, it seems like we drifted away from that. We kind of fell asleep, and we allowed this corrupt institution, the United Nations, with 5 northern powers with veto power. It makes the southern hemisphere totally irrelevant. And we've kind of gone to sleep, and we've been put back into a stupor. But people have started waking up. There's one principle, there's 2 key ones, in my opinion, to maintaining a tyrannical system, a pyramid-based system. One of them is information. Information is power. The powerful have always held information to themselves. They've never allowed the masses to have access to information. This is a basic tenet of power. This is not rocket science here. They violated that rule with the internet. Really. Now, we don't have all of the truths. There's a lot of stuff hidden. And boy, if we could open up the Vatican library, oh my God, what we would find there. Really. And it's not the only place where a lot of very important information that would just destroy the conventional version of history that we've been told, totally destroy it. But they have allowed us access to information which never before in the existence of humankind have we had access to information on this level and the ability to disseminate it on an instant level globally. Now, while a lot of people are wasting their time playing video games or masturbating or whatever the fuck it is they're doing, a lot of people, more and more, are trying to figure out what the hell do I need to know to get the hell out of this bullshit? Because I'm just like starting to drown here. I'm treading water, and I'm getting tired. And as people become more uncomfortable, see, I love this, actually. I love the financial crisis. Fucking great. I love draconian laws like everybody has to get vaccinated. Excellent. Love it. Because what this does is forces people. Forces you now to engage. You going to inject your kids with that shit? Really? Really? Okay. Yeah, no, a lot of people are not. That's the red line. That's the red line for a lot of people, isn't it? Like, no. So I love it. Bring it on, man. Bring in more draconian shit. The more the better, as far as I'm concerned. They're doing this, and we're getting more aware. And these things are coming to a head. And they understand so very well that they cannot sustain their system under this current rate of growth in human consciousness. So look at the policies, even picking a fight with Russia. Are you fucking kidding me? We're picking a fight with Russia? Let's be honest, by the way, the Russians are tough. They'll kick the fucking shit out of us in any fair fight. We're a bunch of pussies compared to the Russians. These are tough people, man, and they do not bow. Look at their fucking leader as well. The most popular man in the world. Really, seriously. Imagine having a real man as a leader, or woman for that matter. Can you imagine? There is no such thing. They're a bunch of fucking prostitutes. They're an embarrassment, a den of traitors in all of our governments. They all work for the bankers with the rarest of exception. This is a reality. Let's stop playing games and pretending as if any of these political fucking prostitutes are actually going to come in and save us. It's ridiculous. They're doing this right now in the States with Bernie Sanders and like Donald Trump. Are you fucking kidding me? Are you serious? I mean, didn't we do this, wasn't it 8 years ago, Obama? And, in the UK, it was Tony Blair was going to save the day. Believe me, it was the same kind. What? They're not going to save you. They don't work for you. How much more obvious could it be? These people do their job. They take their marching orders and they do their job. The last U.S. president who actually had any integrity was who? John F. Kennedy, man. Wow. That guy. Yeah. That guy, at least Americans have one president in the last century who actually had some integrity. And I mean, really, I could get into, what Kennedy was doing, but really beautiful. I actually carry in my pocket a $5 bill from 1963. Executive Order 11110. John F. Kennedy bypassed the Federal Reserve Bank. You know what John F. Kennedy and Hitler have in common? They both bypassed the Jewish bankers, both of them. And that's their real crime. And this is what they don't want me to say, and this is what most have been afraid to say. And I genuinely believe, let's get into the whole Jewish thing, I genuinely believe that the Jewish people are being used. That they are being used, and they will be the sacrificial lambs when the time comes. This is my honest opinion. I do not believe even the Rothschilds. I believe that there are things behind them, but that fits into the fascinating category. We can sit here and debate that shit till the end of time. But why don't we deal with those concrete things which we know, we can establish, and we can work on now, as opposed to sitting here fucking endlessly debating a bunch of details which don't fucking matter at the end of the day. 9/11, a perfect example. No planes, thermite, nanothermite, fucking directed. Oh, Jesus, man, it's a false flag. This is the thing that matters. If you want to investigate these aspects, good, but don't sit there slinging mud and causing this division inside of society. You're working for the enemy. They're sitting there at the top of the pyramid laughing their ass off. Let's get out of the fascinating category a little bit and into the nuts and bolts of the way things work. And what the Jews have been used for is basically to control the financial system. They dominate the financial system. This is not seriously debatable. And anyone who wants to try and argue otherwise, good luck with that. The truth of the matter is that Jews, because actually when you look at genuine Islam and genuine Christianity, where is the position of genuine Islam and Christianity in terms of usury, of interest? It's not allowed. It's just not allowed. In fact, in both of these religions in its genuine sense, it's one of the worst crimes. In fact, many will argue, religious scholars will argue, it is the worst crime. And so it is not allowed in Christianity. Of course, we're practicing it all the time because we're all a bunch of fake fucking Christians and Muslims as well on so many different levels. What did Jesus Christ do when he went to the temple and he saw what the money changers were doing? How many Christians know this shit? Oh, and by the way, a question I always like to throw out to my Christian brothers and sisters while you're fucking supporting this, that, and the other war, what fucking country would Jesus bomb? Seriously. I want to hear someone representing modern-day Christianity give a presentation like they were Jesus Christ himself and basically say, yeah, well, I know normally I'm known as the apostle of peace and generally I believe in love thy neighbor and so on and so forth, but in this particular case, it is just so offensive that I would actually bomb this country because. And then go on with that. I want to hear the argument. And why do you call yourself a Christian if you don't understand these basic things? Get over yourself and start actually applying some of the tenets and teachings of Jesus Christ, at least as we know it. It's fake, it's bullshit, and we get sucked into it because we haven't been thinking. But again, the thinking people are coming up, rising, and it's confronting this system that we're talking about. And the head of the snake is the financial system. As long as that system is in place, I don't give a shit what victory we have. It'll be overcome, it'll be subverted, it'll be taken over from some other angle because that financial system is still in place. And the Jewish people have control of that system. And with that system, they have bought everything and everyone that can be bought. Everything and everyone that can be bought has been bought. And so the governments, who runs the governments? How much more obvious could it be? Look at Netanyahu coming to the U.S. Congress for a third time. Look at that bend-over fucking treasonous government embarrassing everyone, literally bending over as far as they can to take it up the ass from a foreign nation who does not give a shit about the American people and uses American sons and daughters as cannon fodder to go fucking fight wars for Israel so Israel can expand. How embarrassing is that? I don't even know how Americans can call themselves patriotic. You're a fucking dupe. You're a chump. You wave that stupid fucking flag and you're sending your sons and daughters off to fight a bullshit war to the point that they come back and commit suicide to the tune of 22 a day. This is what we're doing. How fucking dare you call yourself patriotic? Have you even read your Constitution? Do you even know what it is to be involved in a war? Do you have any idea the real reasons why we're doing this? You're a chump. How about we stop being chumps? That system has bought not only the governments, it's controlling the mainstream media. It's completely controlled by these same interests. Completely. It's completely controlled because of the financial system. The courts, the police, the military, every NGO of any significance, all controlled. And in fact, they have so much money, many of you are sent here and getting paid to fucking report on what I say and what people are here. Fuck off to you, by the way. You cowardly fucks. Really. Shame on you. Shame on you. Shame on you. Really, whoever you are, seriously. At some point, go look in front of a fucking mirror. Do you fucking respect what you see? You're working for the devil. Seriously. It's fucking outrageous. But I'll tell you what, I will be one of those ones who will say mercy for those who are honest about what they've done, because you agents who are doing this shit, you're going to be called to come out and be honest about what the fuck you did and how you were getting paid to sow the seeds of distrust within society to get us to the point where we can't trust anybody. Because who's the fucking plan? Palestinians know this. Boy, oh boy, do they know this. Oh my God, have they infiltrated Palestinian society with collaborators. And the incentives are almost like, he made an offer I couldn't refuse. Like, okay, if you love your mother and your family and whatnot, then you're going to do this for us, or else we're fucking taking them right out. And they know this is serious. It's not a joke. This game of subversion from inside, they use so many different methods. They control Hollywood completely. Fucking nasty. There's some beautiful movies, I have to say. There's some beautiful, with really poignant, beautiful moments in them. But the overall effect of Hollywood is horrendous. Horrendous. An active campaign to basically destroy society through the fabric of society, which is the family. To really just diminish and demoralize and cheapen any kind of love and real genuine commitment to our fellow human beings and to our partners and to our children, glorifying the idea of a single mother and the not so necessary element of a father in society. I know this directly because my mom and dad were divorced at 5 years old, and I joined the Marine Corps. I didn't know it at the time, but I joined the Marine Corps to get the father that I didn't have. I only knew that later, but that's why I joined. I could have fucking died or been a killer because I was seeking my father, who I never had. How many people, how many men are willing to raise their hands and say, you know what, I did not have that father figure either. I'm sure many of you have that experience, and it is not an easy one, especially for a male. We need positive male role models badly. And when we don't get it, we'll seek it somewhere else, through the military or gangs or something like that. But we have within us this capacity to overcome all of this. I mean, we can go on and on and on about the problems, and the problems are big. But the reason why I speak oftentimes about Jewish power, especially on this particular tour, is because, one, you're not even able to talk about it. And the fact that you can't talk about it is the reason why the Palestinians have been dealing with this for as long as they have, because we can't even talk about it. You can't even talk about Jewish supremacism as if it doesn't exist. You can't talk about how this tiny percentage of the human population fills all of the top levels of every meaningful aspect of human society, from politics to the police to the courts to every institution, the media, Hollywood, you name it. This tiny percentage of the population has extreme tentacles in all of the most powerful positions, and you're not allowed to talk about it. Voltaire, great quote from Voltaire, I'm sure many of you have heard it before. You want to know who's in power? I'm paraphrasing. Find out who you can criticize. Well, it's just that simple, isn't it? Let's say, for instance, let me give a scenario. let's imagine there's this little element of 9/11. There was let's imagine, I'm gonna tell it slightly different. There are these two Muslim billionaires, and these two Muslim billionaires, they bought the lease to the Twin Towers, right? But it's interesting because there was a long-standing legal case for the Port Authority, which had the ownership of the buildings, right? The Port Authority of New York had taken on a legal case to absolve itself of the financial liability of the removal of asbestos in the Twin Towers. And it had been fighting this multi-year case trying to absolve itself of liability because the estimates of removing the asbestos ran into the billions. Billions. These half-empty buildings, already half-empty in 2001, full of asbestos, and apparently two Muslim billionaires decided to buy these buildings. Not only with that knowledge, but just after, in the same year that the Port Authority lost its multi-year case, it lost, and the court determined that indeed the Port Authority is responsible for the removal of the asbestos, right? Which was estimated to be in the billions, yeah? Right, so these two buildings, which are half empty and full of asbestos, which would cost billions to remove the asbestos. You couldn't just demolish the buildings, by the way. No. You can't do that. Whenever you demolish a building that has asbestos, you have to remove the asbestos. So you couldn't just demolish the buildings. You'd have to remove the asbestos. So these two Muslim billionaires, they bought the lease to the Twin Towers after the Port Authority lost its case. Now, if that happened, I'm wondering how many people would know about these Muslim billionaires. But not only did these Muslim billionaires buy the lease on the Twin Towers, thereby transferring liability to the tune of billions of dollars from the Port Authority to themselves. So two Muslim businessmen decided, because of their emotional attachment to a couple of buildings, that they wanted to buy them and thereby transfer billions of dollars of liability to themselves. But not only did they want to do that, they then proceeded to double the insurance policy on these buildings. And these Muslim billionaires, by the way, happen to have direct connections to Al-Qaeda, let's say. I'm just, telling a story for a different purpose here. We'll switch it around to the reality in a second. But these two Muslim billionaires thereby take reliability of the buildings. They have doubled the insurance policy, and they have direct connections to Al-Qaeda. And lo and behold, within 6 weeks of all this, what happens? Keeping in mind, by the way, that these Muslim billionaires have now had total control over those buildings for the last 6 weeks, which might make it possible to do a few things to the buildings if you wanted to. I mean, if I own them, I can pretty much invite anybody in I want, can't I? Right, so these Muslim billionaires then have security, and within 6 weeks of buying these worthless fucking buildings that transfer billions in liability, doubling the insurance policy, they then fucking turn to dust. Wow, amazing, isn't that amazing? Totally amazing. And not only that, but these two Muslim billionaires managed to collect not one insurance policy, but two. That's fucking chutzpah for you, boy, I tell you, man, that is audacity. No, I'm not happy with only a couple billion. I want two, because that was two terrorist events, so therefore I should collect twice, and I think it was roughly $4 billion. Not a bad deal, actually. Their initial investment, by the way, was only about $100 million to get the lease, which wouldn't have been a good deal at all if it weren't for the buildings turning to dust within 6 weeks. But it wasn't two Muslim billionaires, was it? It was two Jewish billionaires, Frank Lowy and Larry Silverstein, who most people don't know their names at all. If they were two Muslim billionaires, do you think you'd know their names under these circumstances? You fucking damn well you would know that name. It would have been forced down your throat 1,000,000 times by now. You would know damn well. So it would be no problem for me to talk about this if it was Muslims. But if I say who it really is, if it's Jewish billionaires who apparently have no regard for due diligence at all. Apparently these Jewish billionaires, these Jewish businessmen billionaires, have no regard at all for due diligence and didn't even manage to confirm the facts. Of course they did. They knew damn well that those buildings were a financial liability, that billions of liability had been transferred to them. Why would they do that? Why would they do that? Well, there is a logical reason why they might do that, isn't there? Because they were directly connected to Netanyahu. Larry Silverstein had frank, weekly conversations with Netanyahu. By buying the buildings, you had total control over the security. There's videos online with Mossad agents and explosives, fucking explosive caps and whatnot. Never mind the dancing Israelis who we know had foreknowledge because they admitted to it all too arrogantly on television in Tel Aviv. Never mind the Israelis who were arrested on the day with explosives in their vans, who were then arrested, many of whom who were interrogated and given lie detector tests and failed, all quietly deported by a man named Michael Chertoff. And all of this is possible, how? Because you have a system where at the top of the pyramid, bankers have an infinite supply of money. And with that money, they have bought everything and everyone that can be bought. You can get away with this kind of shit if you have that kind of reach. You control the media. You control Hollywood. You control the politicians. You control the police, the courts. All these cases which would win in any legitimate court. No, you ain't going anywhere. Even the Supreme Court is stacked with Jews. It's amazing. It's totally amazing. And you're not allowed to talk about it. And how much chance do we have of correcting this situation if we can't even talk honestly about it? I believe that the Jewish people are like sheep being led to slaughter. I actually believe that I am one of the greatest friends they have. These false friends of the Jewish people who play this politically correct bullshit game and who kiss their ass and patronize them and who basically control, and you guys know this with this venue. Come on, you know this. The Palestinian, so-called Palestinian Solidarity Movement is filled with gatekeepers whose primary responsibility is to not offend the Jewish people. It's not about protecting the rights of Palestinians or effective, meaningful action in support of Palestine. It's about not offending the Jews and making sure that we do bullshit, which doesn't really affect serious change that any serious person desires. We see this. You can do that if you have an infinite supply of money. And this is the system that we have today. And it's a system we've had for quite a long time. I believe that when it gets too problematic, and we see the signs of this, by the way. Look at this 28 pages in Saudi Arabia. This is a prelude to where it's really going. Come on, Saudi Arabia, pfft, they supplied the patsies, for fuck's sake. You know, that's what they did. That's what they did. Their role was nothing compared to traitors in the U.S. government and military and Mossad. Nothing. Minuscule. So why are they feeding that out to us now, this many years later? Because the scent is being detected, and the real culprits are being identified. It's not just me. There's countless independent, truth-telling people out there who are not fucking bowing down, who are talking the truth, because they're becoming increasingly concerned, as I am and every other conscientious person is, that we cannot sustain this. We cannot continue like this. How long do we suppose we can continue playing this game? Really. You know, and honestly, I'm okay either way. I'm not attached to the end result. I accept whatever happens. This is beyond my control. But I will do my damnedest while I'm around, and I will move to the next realm. I will move to the next realm having done the best I could to try and affect something that I and we can feel good about handing over to our children. So that leads me into 15 minutes left, what I think is positive and what we can do. So for years, you know, I've understood how unacceptable this world is, and I really meditated and thought and reflected and tried to learn so as to understand, what the fuck can we do? What can we realistically do? This is the question that I'm asked all the time, and I know many of you have asked that question, what can I do? So I really thought about that, really, like what? I don't put limits on what we're capable of doing. I don't put limits on what I can do as an individual. You know, the limit is whatever you set. My limit is way the fuck up there. So I believe that I can achieve anything that I'm willing to set my mind to and work for, but I also am wise enough to know that you can never know if you're going to actually achieve the goal. Don't be attached to the end result. Just be dedicated to giving your best. That's what really matters. And our best is much better than what most of us realize. Much, much more. We can do way more than we give ourselves credit for. So for years I reflected on this and I thought to myself, what can we do? So I came to certain understandings. They came at different parts of my life. I renounced my U.S. citizenship formally in 2001. I could easily give a 2-hour lecture on just that experience and, you know, what it's been for me. But long story short, the reason why I did that was because I realized at a certain point that we as citizens of nations have been entered into a contract, a social contract. And I looked at this contract and the so-called rights that you have within that contract and the obligations that you have in that contract. And I realized I don't agree to that. I do not agree to those obligations at all. Keep it in mind, I lived in Hawaii, had my own business, was doing what I loved, lived on the beach, had money. You know, I had what most people would kill for. But my involvement in the independence movement and the truth basically led to me having to walk from that. So for me, I realized this contract, it doesn't work for me. In fact, you need to take my fucking name off that contract right now. I'm not part of that shit. And I will speak out against the horrible, destructive nature of my birth nation till the end of my days. So take my fucking name off that list. But what I realized in terms of this was, one, most people aren't going to renounce their citizenship. So that's not a solution. For me, it was great. It was very liberating, and it was the right thing to do. But this is not the kind of thing that most people are going to do. So there's no solution there. But the real importance of it for me was the power of a social contract and what it means and how that is used in a very nefarious way, a very fraudulent way to strip us of our rights. Because whether we like it or not, whether we know it or not, we were entered into a social contract at birth. If you were born in this nation or born in the U.S., you were entered into a contract at birth. Just by its nature, that contract is not valid. In order for a contract to be valid, you have to enter into it of your own free will, under no duress or coercion. You have to be able to reflect on the terms of the contract. Can you do that as a baby? No, you cannot. No. So you were entered into a contract which has profound impact on your ability to live as a free human being. In fact, that system is inherently about stripping you of your inherent human rights, your natural rights. It's designed for that. But it's also designed to fraudulently con you into consenting in a million different ways. When you submit an application for a license to exercise an inherent natural right, the right to travel, you have submitted to a system. When you use your social security number, when you vote, when you file your income tax return, and you're asked, by the way, to do the all capital letter bullshit, you are consenting to a system designed to strip you of your natural rights. It has always been that way in the modern era. The whole point of this system is to take power away from you and me and to give it to these cunts who fucking run the world. And that is the appropriate fucking word. These people have used nefarious, fraudulent means to strip us. But they've used something, an instrument, a social contract. Why don't we have a social contract? Why haven't we created a social contract? Well, that's what I did. And it's very simple. Now, this contract, keeping in mind, is different from the one you've been entered into if you were born into a nation. This one, as a moral thinking man or woman, you have the right to enter into this new contract. And this new contract is very simple, and there ain't no fraud about it. 3 elements to this new social contract of world citizenship. Now, some people immediately get edgy. Oh, my God, new world order, one world government, blah, blah. Please, get beyond the programming. Listen to what I have to say. This is inherently a devolutionary force. It devolves power. It takes power back from the central governments and central power structures, and it takes it back into the individual and into the community. So there's 3 elements to this new social contract. And I'm telling you right now, if anything happens to me, whether it happens tomorrow or next week or next month or next year or 5 years or 10, whatever, but if I'm not able to present this plan the way I intend to present it, I want you all to know tonight the power of what I'm talking about is in this very simple social contract. I have already revealed what is the most powerful thing about it. But the trick is getting people to realize just how powerful it is. And that we don't understand yet because we're still bound by a prison that makes us think we cannot achieve great things, or at least we're very trepidatious about it. We seriously underestimate what we're capable of. This social contract has within it the power to liberate humanity, and it can do it this year if enough people participate in it. So what is the contract? Very simple. As a world citizen, there are 3 elements by this social contract. As a world citizen and as a man, element 1, I affirm my natural rights. Very simple. I am only affirming my natural rights. Nobody in their right mind could object to that, could they? Is there anybody in this room who would object to somebody affirming in law, in writing, their natural rights. Right. So natural rights involves the right to life, the right to freedom of expression, the right to travel, the right to self-defense, basic natural rights. Everything that is required for a human being to live a dignified life, that are inherent in being free, that is your right. It is your birthright. So we will have, by the way, because I don't have time to get in further detail about natural rights, but someone I'd recommend, Mark Passio, if you don't already know him, brilliant source. You want to get into natural rights, go look up Mark Passio. Brilliant. Let us suffice to say, nobody in their right mind can seriously object to somebody affirming their natural rights. It should be self-evident just in the term itself, natural rights. This is not some man-made, interpretation. It's natural. It's natural. Someone's coming to kill you, you have the right to kill them. You have the right to defend yourself. You know, you need to travel in order to make a living, you have the right to travel. You don't have to fucking submit an application to exercise an inherent right. You know, it's nonsensical. These rights exist. We should never have allowed them to be taken away from us. We should never have given them up. So that's number one. I, as a world citizen, in my case as a man, affirm my natural rights. The second element, very simple. As a world citizen, I obligate myself to respect the natural rights of every other human being on this planet. Very simple. It's the golden rule. It's so simple. If you don't want to be invaded, if you don't want to be lied to, if you don't want to be killed, if you don't want to be raped, then you don't do that shit, and you don't pay for that shit either. You don't pay for someone's nation to get invaded. You don't pay for that. That's a violation of their rights. What are you doing? Don't say not in my name. Bullshit, it is in your name with your fucking money to boot. That's the world we're living in. We're paying for that shit and allowing it. So as a world citizen, we are going to make a commitment, not only to ourselves, but to our fellow human beings, not to do that shit. I respect every human being's right to live a dignified life and exercise their natural rights, including my Jewish brothers and sisters and everyone else. Number three, very simple. We come from planet Earth. That's where I come from. I mean, I was born in California, but what the fuck is that? That's just like some lines somebody drew on a fucking map. It's all a bunch of land stolen on the back of genocide anyway, so what the fuck do I give a fuck? I come from planet Earth, or at least I think I do. I'm probably genetically modified. I don't doubt that. But, you know, I've been here terrestrially enough to be able to say I am basically a world citizen. I come from this place, and my loyalty is to this place, this beautiful planet. Look at what we're doing to our planet. Look at the fucking chemtrails and geoengineering. Boy, oh boy, I have to say, when the truth comes to the fore and we understand who's responsible, good fucking luck to you, boy. I'll tell you what, man, fucking spraying that shit everywhere. And when I walk out with my kids and I fucking know they're breeding you motherfuckers. Whoa. Wait till the truth comes to bear. We come from planet Earth. This planet doesn't give a shit about these stupid fucking borders we created. Does the borders that we created have anything to fucking do with Fukushima? The DU that we're fucking using, these chemtrails that are blowing all over the fucking place? It doesn't mean shit, these borders. We come from planet Earth. Enough. This is our mother, and we are shitting on our mother. Literally. Get a visual of your own mother and seriously standing over your fucking own mother and shitting on her. That is what we are doing. Shitting on our fucking planet. So, to me, the next question is, now if this social contract comes to the fore and people are presented with it in a way that is intelligent, it's packaged nicely like the mainstream media, you know, their product is pure 100% stinky ass bullshit, but they package it so well that a lot of people believe it just because of the fucking packaging. And we've been psychologically programmed not to fucking listen to stuff unless it looks a certain way. And you can't have a human being with any blemish or anything. Fuck no, man. They got to be perfect. They got to speak perfect teleprompter language, and it's all got to be perfect. We have to use a lot of these techniques as well to deliver it in a way that is in line with what people have been programmed to see as potentially valuable. Because if I said this shit in a handy cam and shit audio and said, hey, let's join, come on, man. People are they're not gonna sign on to it. So if we present this the right way, I ask you, think to yourself, there are over 7 billion people on this planet. As I ask this to, make sure that you get out of your little bubble here, okay? The world is not Canada. Americans suffer from this even much worse, like they're living in the American bubble. And if it doesn't happen in America, it doesn't matter. You know, get out of your fucking bubble. You know, I left America many years ago. I've traveled this world. Trust me, there's a fucking world out there, and there's a lot more people in it than what we have in Canada and America. So get out of the bubble and think to yourself, if a contract like that was presented, how many out of 7 billion people do you reckon might be willing or interested in signing that contract? I can't say. I'm not a fortune teller. But if there are not at least tens of millions, hundreds of millions on this planet who see the value in all of us agreeing to respect each other and our planet, well, then I don't think we actually deserve real justice and real peace in this world. I think we have accepted the tyranny that we see today. In fact, this world is what it is because we have accepted that. We now have to change our way of seeing the world. We have to stop being complicit with a system which is taking us straight down the path of self-destruction. If we are not willing to make that shift in our own minds, to see our fellow human beings in a different way and respect each other, then what the fuck are we doing? We're basically doing what we're doing, the rat race. Do the best you can for yourself. If you can get a chunk of money somewhere, fucking put that away, take care of yourself. Step over some people if you need to get to where you need to go because you need the money. You got to take care of the family. The kids have to go to college so they can go in debt as well. And all this fucking ridiculous bullshit. We're like rats running around fucking trying to survive, never seeing the value of coming together. People have said for a long time, you know, we need to unite. Yeah, but how? Well, I believe this social contract has the capacity to do that. Now, I'll tell you one last element of it, and there's so much more. Believe me, I've not announced the full strategy because that would be stupid, quite frankly. It needs to be presented the right way. We had a successful crowdfunding campaign. We've had some delays since then, but we have a lot of momentum. And everywhere I go, I meet people who are like, when can I sign up and what can I do? I don't know what the numbers are, but they're huge. The second phase of this plan, the first phase is all going to be about getting people to sign that social contract. I believe that the second phase probably is going to be when we hit 10 million. When 10 million people decide to sign this social contract, we will have enough momentum, and we will also have, through a very small amount of money, and believe me, you know, the money is not the important thing here. People who desire to be participants in this will pay a very small amount of money, $12 total, period, end of story. You never have to pay any more. And that money is going to be used to finance the administration of this, but also to exercise what is, to me, one of the most exciting aspects of this plan, and that is we're going to reach phase 2 with 10 million people. So keep in mind, this is not a small group of individuals. It's a large number of people who have signed a lawful contract. Phase 2 involves, there's many other elements to it, but it involves, once we reach 10 million, those of you who live in Canada or the United States who have signed on to this will be able to get legal defense. And we're going to go forward and say, listen, I have now entered into a social contract which prohibits me from paying for the suffering, harm, or death of other people. And we have the legal brief here. And by the way, that legal brief has been done, the first draft for the US and the UK. But I intend to have legal briefs for every nation that shows when you hand over that money, where does that money go? Well, it goes to the tax agency, to the government, then it gets doled out to corporations. Arms are made, deals are made, and war is fought. And we pay for it, and it's from us handing that money over, that this money, we have that trail. It's self-evident, it's completely provable, it's undeniable. So what we're going to do in phase 2 is we're going to go to the governments, our respective governments, and say, you know what, sorry, I won't be able to be paying that tax anymore because, you know what, I've entered into this social contract. And under that contract, I cannot finance the harm, suffering, or death of my fellow human beings. And we have a legal brief here showing that our money is being used to commit not only international crimes, but even domestic crimes. Even in this country, in Canada and the United States, we're violating our own fucking laws and international laws. And you're asking me to pay for that shit, and I can't do that anymore. Morally, I can't do it, but lawfully, I cannot do it. And by the way, I have a legal team, which is the best fucking minds in legal matters of international human rights, who will be representing me. So I look forward to the argument that you're going to put forward as to why my whole fucking purpose in life is to work as a slave fucking wage to make money for you, to hand over to you so you can carry out your criminal fucking enterprises based on a fraudulent contract which was never fucking legal or fucking moral in the first place. I look forward to the government's fucking making their argument as to why we have to pay for these crimes. They're done. They're fucking done. So listen, in parting, I really, what the biggest obstacle is in here. Seriously. Plant seeds with your loved ones. Love them. Love them. Don't fucking force it down their throats. Don't worry about it. Plant seeds. Be respectful. When they give you an opportunity, exploit it for all it's worth, but don't shove it down their throat. They will come around. Keep planting those seeds. Just plant little seeds here and there. Trust me, something's going to activate, and bam, bam, it's game, set, fucking match. Checkmate, motherfucker. We have the power. We have the power. So let's take that power back. Enough of this nonsense. Let's feel proud about handing this world over to our children. That is the world that I want, and I want that for everyone. Everyone. We can do it. We can do it this fucking year. Make no mistake about it. So thank you all very, very much. Thank you.